Strap in that car seat. It's an all-baby name episode of Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet. I'm Josh.
And I'm Kristie. Let's get to our first Reddit story. Am I the asshole for ruining a baby name?
I mean, it sounds like you're the asshole.
I am Brazilian, but I've been living in the US for 3 years. My first language is Brazilian Portuguese. I have a 4-year-old son, and I'm pregnant with a girl due in May. My son is friends with a girl whose mother, I'll call her Becca, is also pregnant. She's due a couple weeks before me and is also expecting a third girl. Since we take our kids to play dates almost weekly, we frequently talk about our pregnancies. Becca is into unique names, not uniques or tragedies, but names that she and her husband create.
Sorry, what do you mean? What is unique?
Look at how they spelled uniques and tragedies. You're going to have to put that on this.
I don't understand still. Well, why is she spelling it like that?
Because people think it's unique. Have you not been the jokes of everybody's like into spelling the names like tragedy like that? Her name is Tragedy, but it's spelled with the D-E-I-G-H. It's so unique. Okay. There is a whole subreddit devoted to names like this, Josh.
I did not know this.
Oh my gosh. It's not my style, but she managed to come up with genuinely nice names for both her older daughters. So there was never really a reason for me to say anything. This time, Becca and her husband had a lot of trouble coming up with a new name. She first brought this up last December. For months, they'd try to create something that sounded good, with no success. We took our kids on a playdate at a park this weekend. When we sat down for a snack, Becca excitedly told me they'd finally settled on a name. I was really happy for her and asked what they'd chosen. Narina. That sounds nice, right?
It sounds nice. I'm still waiting for this means something horrible in Portuguese.
To those who don't know, that's Portuguese for nostril.
Not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
I managed to control myself and told her it sounded lovely, but my son let out a giggle. My husband and I are raising him bilingual, so he speaks Portuguese. And Becca wanted to know why. I tried to brush it off, but she kept insisting. Eventually, I told her that while Narina could be a lovely name, it was also the Portuguese word for nostril.
Is it like 1-to-1, the Portuguese word for nostril?
I guess so. I don't know. I don't speak Portuguese.
There's so many names that when you say it in Korean, it sounds like some crazy name.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I care if my name sounds weird in a foreign language.
Yeah, how often is Narina, her daughter, going to run into someone who actually speaks Portuguese?
I mean...
I don't know anyone who speaks Portuguese.
Brazil's a fairly populous country.
Yeah, but it's far away.
Yeah.
Becca seemed really sad to hear that. She said she'd think of something else, but had fallen in love with Narina. After we went home, Becca's husband called me. He was furious at me for ruining the only name they had agreed on. Apparently, he had a fight with Becca because she told him she wanted to think of something else. He argued they'd never visit Brazil anyway, so they shouldn't have to change the name, but Becca refused to use Narina. My husband agrees that their fight is not my fault, but thinks that I didn't need to tell Becca anything, since Americans are unlikely to know what Narina means. Am I the asshole?
I think you're a little bit the asshole for not just telling her up front. You tried to hide it.
Yeah, she did try to hide it, but how often is she gonna run into someone speaking Portuguese?
She's not, but I feel like you could have worded it better.
Yeah.
Where you're like, Narina could be a lovely name, but it means nostril. You weren't very subtle. You obviously do not like this name, and that's fair. I don't know. I feel like when you're picking names, unless it means something horrible in that other language, don't worry too much about it.
She has a little edit. This was not my son's fault. He is 4 years old and had an honest reaction to hearing a baby would essentially be named Nostril. I get that some people might think I was the asshole, but don't blame my child for this.
Yeah, I don't blame the kid.
Top comment, NTA, I'm shocked they didn't bother Googling their name ideas as they came up with them.
If I Google Narina, will it turn up Nostril?
I see Narina as Nostril on the first page of search results.
Okay. I wouldn't even know how to spell Narina.
Yeah, Narina.
Not how I would have spelled it.
I would have gone Eena.
Me too.
OP replied to that comment about Googling the names. I don't think they ever do. Apparently, their eldest daughter's name also means something in a different language, though a much cuter word. And they had no idea until someone who spoke it told them. Are you Googling Narina?
I Googled Narina, and that person is a liar. It's not on the first page.
Okay.
They probably typed in Brazilian or something. The top thing is some Doctor Who character. They have a big nose? No, it's just some lady. So there you go. They might be big Doctor Who nerds and want to name their kid after this one-off character from an episode in the 50s.
Okay, another comment. NTA, it is not ruined. They're not even Portuguese. And they could always change the spelling if their panties are this twisted. And then they give several different spellings of Narina.
Yeah, I don't think it's ruined at all. I do think your delivery on the word Narina was a little condescending is all. Because that is kind of the most painful way to tell someone that a word means something in another language. Like, somebody laughs, and then they won't explain why they're laughing at you. And then they're like, well, it's not that big of a deal. It could be a pretty name, but it does mean nostril. You idiot.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like your delivery was awful.
Yeah, it was not a great delivery. But, I mean, English is not her first language, so...
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe it's a language barrier thing in her delivery.
Maybe.
People are giving other names that sound like things in other languages.
Oh.
Bill in Dutch means buttock. But do you think people are going to stop using the name Bill? No.
That's fair.
Todd is the German word for death. Oh, but people think the husband is rude for calling her and yelling at her.
Oh, absolutely. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, that's very rude.
The husband was very rude for calling and yelling about it. Just frustrated because he can't figure out a name with his wife.
Yeah.
It's got to be unique.
Just name it Sarah. Is that not even a common name anymore? Is that just a millennial name?
I don't know, but I think 1/3 of all millennials are named Sarah.
Yeah. Am I the asshole for not telling my sister the name chosen for my unborn son because she used her best friend's baby name for her daughter?
No, sounds like she can't be trusted.
My sister and I are both pregnant. This is her second child and my first. We're both having boys. When my sister had her daughter 3 years ago, her best friend was pregnant at the same time. My sister complained for 8 months that they didn't have any idea what to name my niece, and then all of a sudden, she had a name right before she gave birth. After my niece was born and her name was announced, my sister and her best friend started fighting. The best friend said that was the name she'd chosen for her baby girl, and my sister used the same first and middle name for my niece, and she couldn't believe she'd do that.
She's got a history. You can't trust her.
My sister said that it's first come, first serve.
Oh my God. Okay. Unrepentant.
My sister said it's first come, first serve, and she needed a name badly, and that her best friend had time to find another name.
Wow.
My sister is due before me, a few weeks before, and with that in mind, I don't want her to do the same thing to me, and she has asked.
She's fishing.
Nobody knows we're having a boy except me and my husband, and we plan to keep it that way. But my sister has asked what our boy name is, and as an afterthought, she asked for our girl name too, when she realized I knew what she was getting at.
Uh-huh.
I refused to tell her. She tried to whine about name sharing being the fun part of pregnancy. I made up a couple names on the spot to tell her, and she saw through it. She told me to just tell her the name, and I said no again.
Could I suggest Narina? It's unisex.
Yeah, it could be. Actually, a boy named Nostril is much better than a girl named Nostril, in my opinion. She asked a few more times. She even asked in front of our family. It was our brother who joked that nobody should tell the baby name thief the name they've chosen.
Right?
My sister got upset and asked if that's why I wouldn't tell her. Yeah!
Say yes!
She told me I was holding something against her that she never did to me. Mom asked why I couldn't just share the name and everyone would know my husband and I chose it first if my sister used it, but I still said no. Am I the asshole?
No, your sister's the biggest asshole. Just because I stabbed somebody before, I don't know why you won't let me hold a knife.
I never stabbed you. I'm just this other person.
What is this logic? She's gonna backstab you instantly. Well, not instantly, whenever that baby pops out.
And Mom being like, that's okay, everyone will still know it's the name that you guys chose, even if she steals it. Yeah, but she's used it!
That's not the point. Just say a different baby name every time and pretend you're changing your mind constantly. Be like, oh, no, I'm gonna name it after Dad.
The best friend should have gone right ahead and used the name she wanted. Since she was never going to speak to your sister again anyways, it wouldn't make any difference.
Right?
I don't know if I could forgive someone that blatantly and unrepentantly stole a baby name like that.
You stole my baby name and then you're like, first come, first serve, bitch.
Yeah. Although people have pointed out that her bitterness over her best friend stealing the name would have tainted the name, and she might not want to use it anymore. Because then you say your baby's name and think, oh yeah, lost my best friend over that name. My best friend's a bitch.
That's the worst. I hate that.
NTA, don't tell anyone, not until that kid's name is on the birth certificate.
No, don't tell anyone until your sister's kid's name is on a birth certificate.
Yes, that's a good point too. Although the sister is due a few weeks earlier. So hopefully, people are suggesting she go see the tragedy Reddit page that I was just talking about.
I've never heard of this Reddit page. Why is it so popular?
Don't tell her the name or lie and make one up. See the tragedy page for suggestions. I can't believe you've never heard of this Reddit page. It's just all horrible, weirdly spelled names.
Okay.
Am I the asshole for blowing up at my sister for naming her daughter after a fungal infection?
You might be the asshole because she is entitled to name her baby whatever she wants, even if it is toenail fungus. Little baby yeast.
That actually is a name.
What?
Candida is a form of yeast, I think yeast. And that is was a very, very popular name in the 1800s. But the reason there's a whole history behind
Sounds like
this.
the name might have came first. And somebody had a spiteful divorce.
So Candida means pure and white. And it was a very popular lady's name, Candida.
Uh-huh.
There's also the Voltaire play, Candide.
I see. You sometimes motion to that shelf like people can actually read the titles.
Yes, but I do have it somewhere up there because I love that book. Very good. One of my favorites. But, so, means white and pure. Very popular name, in the 17 and 1800s. And then they discovered a yeast, and the yeast was white. Uh-huh. And they're like, we shall name it Candida. Ruin that name for everyone, because now it's a yeast.
It's by the same people who started naming hurricanes, apparently.
Yeah. Can't name anyone Katrina anymore, jeez.
It's true. I almost forgot that was a human name. It's just gotten dragged through the mud so much.
So my 20 male sister, 27 female, and her husband had been struggling a lot with baby names. She was determined to find the single perfect name. Even by the time of her baby shower, nearly 5 weeks before the due date, she didn't seem any closer to picking something out than she was at the start of her pregnancy.
It's tough.
Anyway, I knew she was struggling, so in addition to the $900 wooden crib on her list that I got for her, I gave her a list of obviously joke baby names.
There's a bit of a humble brag in there.
Yeah. I spent $900 on a crib.
Yeah.
We have a really close relationship, and it was in line with both of our senses of humor. She's a nurse, I'm a biology student, so all the names were medications, infections, unpleasant animals, etc. It all sounded like lovely girls' names out of context. Some of them were a little bit obscure for sure, but I included some obvious ones like Viagra and hernia for good measure. 2 weeks later, she told me she and her husband had finally settled on a name. Malassezia.
That even sounds like a disease.
The baby's name is Malassezia, one of the names on my joke list. Outside of the immediate issues, nearly impossible to pronounce on the first try, the ass smack dab in the middle of it, the first syllable being mal, literally meaning bad or evil.
Uh-huh.
It's also the name of a very common fungal infection. One that my sister and I are both genetically predisposed to. One that we've both had multiple times throughout our lives. Her daughter will almost certainly catch it at some point.
That's not even like a pretty sounding fungal infection.
Malassezia?
No, that's awful.
Malassezia? I don't know. I think Malassezia.
I mean, you could shorten that one to Mal,
yeah.
Like Mallory.
I pointed it out to her and she said that yes, she knew what it meant and she knew that my list was intended to be a joke. She just really liked the way it sounded. I don't think the husband knows what it means. I think he'd reject it if he did. She says that it's so obscure that no one will ever think twice about it. Except, when little baby Malassezia turns 14, finds a weird spot on her neck, and goes on her phone to Google what it is. I told her that the name was completely unacceptable, and that I was shocked that she chose it. I even suggested some similar names, like Mallory, Azalea, or Anastasia, that would be more acceptable, but she wouldn't hear it. She said that since I'm not one of the parents, I have no business telling her what she can and cannot name her child, and that I'm stepping way out of line. I think it's pregnancy hormones, and she'll regret the decision very soon after her daughter is born. Am I the asshole?
That last sentence was a little asshole-ish, but the rest, no. You have every right to be worried about your niece.
Also, I don't think that, also he says that he doesn't think the brother-in-law knows what the name means. I would be like, I'd be letting him know.
You should tattle.
Yeah, I would tattle and be like, dude, your wife wants to name your baby after a fungal infection.
Uh-huh.
Because, yeah, I bet the husband would shut that down real quick.
Right? I don't want a fungus baby.
And then the sister can't complain about it because she's complaining because OP isn't one of the parents. Well, if one of the parents shoots it down, she can't complain anymore, right?
Yeah. This is expecting father's chance to get his name in there. One that he wants, like Truck.
I'm just thinking of when our nephew wanted to name his new cousin Augur.
Oh, yeah.
Top comment. NTA, I share your frustration. You're looking out for your niece. While your sis is right that it's her parental right, you're not stepping out of line, your family, and you're cautioning her. Also, Malassezia sounds like a Disney villain.
Absolutely does.
Question. Would the hospital allow that name? I know people choose unique names for their children, but could you really name your child Chlamydia? Is that not considered emotional abuse?
I've never been clear on when a hospital is allowed to say no. There's gotta be a line where you can, like, tell that doctor to go to hell if they're trying to say you can't name your kid something. But also, like, some parents do be crazy.
NTA, just tell the husband what it means. He'll shut it down.
Sounds like that's your best option, honestly.
Yeah, someone else says, I agree with this. Tell him so he can veto it. Also, how is your sister not thinking about the embarrassment that is going to come with this name? The doctors at every baby appointment will know. I wouldn't be surprised if the doctors and nurses giggle when they see her chart. And when she's in school, kids will likely find out what her name means and bully her. Tell your sister to think about her daughter's future. She's thinking too much about her feelings and not thinking about her daughter, who would have to live with that name.
Uh-huh.
Those are all very good points.
They are. I think you got a tattle. For the sake of your future niece.
Someone else says they're really hoping that your sister is trolling you back about the baby name and she's not serious.
That would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. No, I'm totally going to name her Melissa.
I love that. That would be so funny.
Am I the asshole for refusing to change my baby's name after I named her after my dad's affair partner?
Like on purpose?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I feel like it depends on if you knew that your dad was having an affair and you knew the partner's name, because maybe. That seems really hurtful to your mom if you did it on purpose, or even had the knowledge.
I, 26 female, just gave birth to my daughter, Annabelle. I didn't announce it beforehand because in the past, one of my family members stole a baby name and it created a lot of drama.
Mm-hmm.
My mom wanted to know, but I was adamant on keeping it a secret. My mom and dad was in the room when I gave birth, and when it was time for me to sign the birth certificate, my mom asked for the name and I told her Annabelle. Her face went pale and my dad didn't look happy, but he said he loved the name. My mom left a few minutes later claiming she didn't feel well. She said she'll come over in a few days to help with the baby. Now I'm at home with the baby and my mom hasn't talked to me that much. We used to talk every day, so I was confused by the sudden behavior. My sister Emily lives with mom still, so I called her over to talk. When she got to my house, she explained how she overheard Dad and Mom arguing because about 10 years ago, Dad had an affair with a coworker named Annabelle. Mom hasn't been talking to him and he's been trying to get her to talk. I guess Dad, realizing that Emily had come over, decided to come over himself. So she didn't know about her dad's affair.
Okay.
Coincidence, I guess.
Yeah, then you're
and it
not...
was 10 years ago.
It sounds like you're not the asshole. This is very unfortunate, though, and it's unfortunate enough I might consider changing it.
He asked if there's any way that I can change Annabelle's name. I asked him why to see if he'll tell me the truth. And he did. He admitted to the affair. He begged Mom not to leave him, and she stayed. But just hearing that name had always put her in a bad headspace. Understandable.
Understandable, yeah.
I told him that I can't, and that Annabelle was the name of my husband's grandmother who helped raise him. My dad begged and pleaded for me to change it, saying Mom was in the middle of packing her bags and heading to her sister's house. I told him I won't change her name, that it means so much to me and my husband. He began to raise his voice, and immediately my sister yelled back and told him to get the hell out. She told him not to stress me out about a mess he created. He left immediately. I'm not changing my baby's name, but I feel like this is tearing my family apart. What should I do?
That is a tough one. Can you get away with it just being a middle name? I don't know. If my mother was so opposed to a baby name, I'd probably give her a veto.
Yeah.
right? Like, I think grandparents, I mean, I guess I'm not very territorial because I feel like grandparents and siblings all get a veto if they need it.
I would at least strongly take their
Yes.
opinion into consideration.
They don't get like a hard veto, but they get like the ability to say no, that is the single most painful person in my memory.
Yes. I was like, if they had a good reason to veto the name, I would strongly consider, changing the name of the baby for anyone in my family, like immediate. Yeah. Sisters, parents,
Exactly. People that this kid needs to rely on growing up. Yeah, I don't know. Like, can you modify it even?
Small edit, Annabelle isn't her real name. Her real name only has 3 letters, so a nickname based off her name wouldn't be possible. And a lot of you suggested to change her first name to her middle name, but her middle name is my mom's name, so I don't want to change that. How awkward is that your baby is named after your dad's affair partner and his wife?
I'm sorry. It took me a minute to realize that she means Annabelle is a fake name for Reddit. Her real name is 3 characters long. I was like, wait, you didn't name the baby after grandma then? No. Okay.
No. So Annabelle is a fake name.
Yeah. It seems weird not to pick another 3-letter name, but okay. Like, you are allowed to keep the name if you're really, really attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like you're being kind of an asshole to your mom, even if you're not being... Yeah. You're being an asshole to your mom while honoring your husband's grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And I might just say sorry, grandma, in this instance. Plot twist. Dad had the affair with husband's grandma.
Ooh. NTA, but your daughter is going to deal with most of this backlash, so brace yourself for it. Unless OP's mom truly gets over this, she will put a lot of hate into OP's daughter.
I feel like I would rather have grandma hanging around than get the name I want.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously like your mom enough to name your baby even the middle name after her.
Am I the asshole for correcting my mother-in-law at a family gathering that she didn't recommend my daughter's name? It was my favorite name.
I mean, I guess you're not the asshole for correcting her. Something about that title, I could feel the venom.
Maybe it's the way I read it.
Maybe.
I've been married to my husband for almost 2 years, and our daughter is 11 months old. When we found out we were having a girl, one of the names that was immediately a top contender was the name of a character I really liked in a very popular book/movie franchise.
Astral.
No. My husband is a huge fan of that franchise too, and with time, that name just became the only one that I wanted, and we landed on it and then told our parents about it. I remember mother-in-law questioning whether phonetically there would be an alternative spelling that could cause confusion, and I had said no, it wouldn't, and that we had explained to her the subtle difference in pronunciation, and it was a whole conversation I'd had with her.
Okay. There's a lot of build-up to this name. I'm on the edge of my seat here.
I don't think we get to know the name.
Oh, I guess that makes sense that people don't want to put their baby names on the internet, but that's really disappointing.
Last weekend, we were at my in-laws' place for a dinner. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law were there too. So we were watching my daughter cruising along the room, using the couch as a support and looking at us to see if we were looking and then laughing. My brother-in-law's wife had remarked how radiant she looked and how she'd really taken to her name literally. My sister-in-law then said that it was a really good choice by my mother-in-law.
Arwen.
Maybe. I was confused and asked what she's talking about, and my sister-in-law said that my mother-in-law had been the one to recommend the name, right? My mother-in-law then said, yeah, that she'd said it was a really good name. I was literally stunned for a second and then made it clear that I'd come up with the name, how I'd known of it, and that my husband also knew of that character and that we were dead set on the name. There was no recommendations to be had. I asked my husband to corroborate the story, which he did, uncomfortably. My mother-in-law said names are a collective family effort, and everyone pitched in. But I still said this name was the one that was very dear to me, and it was the one I'd come up with. Maybe I shouldn't have pushed on that second time. That's why I'm here.
I don't know if I would care enough to fight over something like this with Mom. If she's like, I recommended it, like, just, I don't know, let her have it.
When we came home and were in bed, my husband had been getting texts from his mom and sister. He said I was right in my account of what had happened, but he also told me I'd been tactless. That we know it was my name and our daughter has a beautiful name that suits her. Why make it into something that causes bitterness? And today, he had a phone call with his mom, just a regular one. I asked if she was still pissed, and he said she was. He said that he understood why I did it, but that it wasn't the time and place. Was I the asshole?
I know it's kind of an asshole move to take credit for something like
Mhm.
this. You were kind of tactless.
I think Grandma
She had it coming a little.
had it coming.
But I guess I just personally would not care.
But
That's
if this
my
is
problem.
something that's very important to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you could. You're not relating to her. This is important to her. This is her name that she picked out that she's had for years planned, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And mother-in-law's like, oh yeah, I'm the one who told her to name the baby that. That's kind of like hurtful. Also, this is her baby. What do you mean mother-in-law picked out the name? No, she didn't. I did. This my baby. Mother-in-law didn't have a say in the name.
Right. Little Hermione. Yeah, I guess that's true. Just trying to think of what mother-in-law did to contribute. She asked about different spellings.
Like, she had never heard of this name before, it
Yeah.
sounds like. And was like, oh, really? But you sure that's not confusing?
Mm-hmm. And maybe that's just what she meant. You can spell it differently. I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like mother-in-law sucks. You could have been more tactful, but I guess you're not the asshole.
Top comment. Your husband said that he understood why you did it, but it wasn't the time and the place. Did he happen to share with you when would have been a better time to correct your mother-in-law's revisionist history and why he didn't have a word with her and correct him himself? Big fat NTA.
Revisionist history.
She's rewriting history because I feel like this is the grandmother as a narcissist and everything has to be about her and centered about her, so she came up with this baby name so that she feels like she contributed more.
Yeah, that's probably a very good summary.
OP replies to that, no, he didn't say it, but he said it shouldn't have been clarified in front of an audience. So I'm assuming he meant when it was just me with mother-in-law. And if she said this when we'd had moments where it was just the two of us, I would have corrected her then. I didn't enjoy saying it in front of others, that's just when it was brought up. Someone else replies, when someone makes an incorrect assertion, it needs to be cleared up immediately. Obviously, she's been pushing the narrative, or your sister-in-law would have never brought it up to begin with.
Yeah, she's probably telling everyone, isn't she?
She is, and I feel like that's not okay.
She wants that grandma cred where it's like, I got to name my grandbaby. She's got to show off to all of her friends, being like, oh, did you get to name your grandbaby?
She's pissed that she got called out on a stupid lie. Easy solution to that is that she shouldn't have lied.
Yeah.
NTA.
Yeah, that was a stupid thing to lie about.
You seem to feel like she was overreacting in the beginning, but I feel like my arguments have convinced you.
Yeah, I think so.
Reddit is firmly NTA. Mother-in-law is making up fantasies and is way out of line. And you have a husband problem because he's not standing up for you and the truth.
He just doesn't want to deal with an angry mother.
Would he rather have an angry wife?
Maybe? Maybe he considers wife to be more reasonable and easier to calm.
Am I the asshole for calling my coworker a hypocrite for giving her baby a nerdy name?
Just from that title, I assume that she called you a big nerd for having a nerdy name. So I'm gonna say no. But it does depend a lot on your tone.
I, 32 female, am pregnant with a baby girl. My husband and I haven't locked down a name we like until she is born. We're leaning towards Minerva. My husband is a mythology buff. I like Harry Potter, and we first met and bonded over our shared love of Adventure Time. It's a win-win-win.
Who is Minerva in mythology?
Minerva is the Roman goddess of wisdom, commerce, poetry, crafts, and strategic warfare. She is the Roman equivalent of the Greek goddess Athena.
Oh, okay.
Again, we haven't fully decided on a name, but Minerva is the current frontrunner. Well, my coworkers and I were talking about my upcoming maternity leave when it got to names. I said we hadn't decided, but liked Minerva.
Kind of a cute name.
Minnie. Call her Minnie.
Oh yeah, it does shorten. Okay, I was trying to think of how to shorten it.
It should be noted that it is a well-known fact in my office that I am a huge Harry Potter fan.
Uh-huh.
Well, there's this coworker of mine named Gwen, 23 female. Gwen started interrupting me and telling me that I shouldn't force my fandom on my baby by giving her a Harry Potter name. I get what she means, but then I said this. Okay, but you named your daughter after Harley Quinn, right? Isn't that the same thing?
That's more blatant, because Harley is not any sort of mythology.
Yeah, I was like, Harley is only motorcycles or Harley Quinn, right? Gwen is a big comics girl, and often compares her and her boyfriend to Harley Quinn and the Joker.
That's horrible.
That is awful.
Oh my god.
Why would you do that? They do not have a healthy relationship. I wouldn't be bragging about that.
No. There's so many comics where she leaves the Joker for to have healthier relationships. That's the worst comparison.
I don't know what she's like at home, but is naming your baby after a comic book character any better than from another fandom? Gwen stormed off and has been giving me the cold shoulder since then. While everyone else agrees that she had no right to criticize my name since it's not her baby, I shouldn't have embarrassed her in front of everyone else. I say different. If you name your baby after a fictional character, then you shouldn't criticize others for doing the same thing, even if you hate the other fandom. I brought this up later to some other family. Everyone is split on the matter, with my own brother saying that Gwen is right and I shouldn't force my fandom on my daughter. Things are starting to repeat itself when I reminded him that he named his own son Ben, like Ben Kenobi, and took him to the galaxy's edge for his first birthday.
Ben is the most basic name from Star Wars.
But, yes.
Can we say that? That's the safest name in all of Star Wars.
It could be not a Star Wars name.
Yes.
That's just a common name. But if he specifically named him Ben, like said, I'm naming him after Ben Kenobi, and it's like taking him to Star Wars things for his birthday, he kind of shouldn't be calling you out on naming your daughter Minerva.
Right. They both threw the first punch. Like, Gwen and brother both took a shot at you, and you just clapped back instantly with, like, bitch, you named your kid after the Joker.
Stop being a hypocrite.
Uh-huh.
Top comment, NTA, she embarrassed herself. Harley and the Joker are hardly relationship goals.
No.
OP replies, seriously, I don't know smack about DCU except when I watch Suicide Squad, and even I think the relationship is messed up.
Half the point of the Suicide Squad is that Joker ditched Harley and let her get arrested. I'm just disappointed that your brother didn't name his kid Greedo or something fun from Star Wars.
Jabba.
Hey, he's a businessman. Successful.
NTA, you didn't criticize Gwen for naming her kid a nerdy name. You criticized Gwen for being a hypocrite.
Yeah, I think that sums it up really good. I think a lot of parents are inspired by media they like when they pick their kids. And at least you picked a media franchise that's over. So it's not going to be like Khaleesi, where she does a complete heel turn at the end.
Ooh, yeah. I feel really bad for all the people who name their daughters Khaleesi.
Absolutely. I feel like Minerva McGonagall, even if there's another Harry Potter book that comes out, will never betray us.
Yes. Also, you could be like, it's not from Harry Potter, it's the Roman goddess.
Right.
You know, like, it's a real name before Harry Potter. So I say NTA, and so does Reddit.
I agree.
All right, that's it for this baby name episode of Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet.
Thanks for joining us. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time, baby. There's got to be a better orifice to name your kid after.
I mean, you really only got a few more. I feel like you want to go with the head orifice.
Those are the best ones.
What, your canal and mouth?
Canal.
Maybe tear duct?
Eye hole. Could name her throat. Don't name her throat. Don't do that.
Don't name her lips either.